Well, hello everyone, and welcome to today's edition of Beyond the Ordinary Show. And I have to share, it is beyond, y'all. What we're creating it's beyond the ordinary, but it's also just so in alignment with a truth that just lives inside of us. It just is, and we feel it, and there's this mechanism and this fluidity simultaneously that's bringing us back to that. And it seems like we're constantly meeting new versions of ourselves along the way. And I'm excited about this conversation because Yael Green is going to take us into meeting ourselves at the edge. And I know just by even saying what the topic title is of that today, what does that evoke in you? What comes up? And in your daily experiences, or even your contemplations, or even at this place where you know you're being shaken into something that is you, but perhaps you haven't known, or you're getting to re-know in a more intimate way. So again, it's going to be a fascinating and beautiful conversation. A lot of heart liberation I feel in it, and really grounding also. So a little bit about Yael. It's been a while since it's been on the show, but Yael holds a space at the thresholds, potent edges where the old dissolves and the new has yet to take form. How many of y'all feel in that right now, right? She guides those who are ready to stand in the unknown, not with answers, but with presence. And her gift lives in the in between, the liminal space where naming falls away and something deeper begins to emerge. So Yael is just, again, holds beautiful presence in my time with Yael, just with a solidity that takes place in the unknown is just empowering, without the need for power, but in its own flow of what it's creating. So again, it's amazing the space that gets held. It's beautiful what gets revealed and what you learn about yourself in the process as well. So it's with that I welcome y'all to tonight's show. I hope that you sit back and really receive. We'll open up to Q&A later. We'll get into the special offer, which includes a one-on-one session if you go to package B with Yael as well. So it's going to be a full immersion today. I hope you enjoy. And with that, Yael, welcome to the call.
Thank you. So good to be back.
Mm. I'd love if you share a little bit of your background and how it is that you've been facilitating people and what's been awakening within you since the last time you were even on the show.
Yeah, so much has transpired.
Mm,
I think that we talked a lot about water, and that still stands. That's
mm,
still alive. It water holds us in our foundational aspect of being in a liminal space.
mm,
It's that great container that we move around and within. So that is still there. I'm still working with it's beyond an element, I would say. I know we think of earth, air, we think of the elements, but it's this greater than human being,
mm,
basically. So I've been interacting with water, and I know there's so many people, I'm sure people have delved into, water in we hear Veda Austin. There are so many new people connecting with how water reveals messaging.
mm,
How I've entered into water is that it's our container, it's our what holds us together and mirrors us constantly. It's been a unraveling, and it's a constant vortex and flow that you enter in and come out of, and layers begin to unfold, and really you have to allow you to be in uncertainty,
mm.
because we simply cannot and shouldn't. As we become more human, it has honestly allowed me to become more human. I think that's one of the biggest pieces
Well,
from, yeah.
let's go back to a little bit of context about that, because part of what you share also is a galactic origin that you come in from.
Mm-hmm.
So it if you can give us a little bit of background about that for context, I think that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, I think we are really, I mean, that's been my trajectory, moving from a place of galactic origins from being in disembodied or unembodied and entering into this body and trying to figure out what is it, how do we move in this, and how do we still contain everything that we came through, all of the intelligence that's surrounding us, because now it's really asking us to move that way with that intelligence,
Mm,
to unravel every, we've been unraveling narratives and stories forever. And so I came into this without the narrative, without the story. So I wasn't unraveling. I was almost raveling back into what it's like to be on the planet. And
mm,
so that's been a real trajectory for me to feel like there's space on this planet to be both human and have our acceptance and understanding of who we are. Because I did it the opposite way. I know most people want to ascend and do it that, but coming into this and being able to move in whatever we want to call it, in the expansion of love, means
mm.
that we have to be able to hold liminal space in this body. We have to walk around uncertain almost constantly in the in between.
Well, the truth is, we really are walking around uncertain. It's an illusion to think that there's any certainty to anything that we're doing at any particular time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm,
That's right. I mean, and so then we go into like, what's truth? How do we feel truth? How do we embody truth? And it goes from being concrete to abstract. And I think that's why I named this session Beyond Words and put the little L in parentheses, beyond worlds, because when we concretize the words, it takes us from the embodied experience to something that becomes systematized.
hmm
And if we can walk in the uncertainty that we're always creating, that's the threshold. We are those thresholds. There's nothing literally to cross outside of ourselves. We
hmm
are that within ourselves, and it's the enfolding and the unfolding that occurs.
hmm
That's the threshold, the portal itself. We are those portals. And I think I came in last time like, I'm the portal, but we're also all the portals when we understand what that feels like in this vessel.
hmm I really appreciate that you're bringing in, you're not lost, you're between versions of yourself. And how many of y'all feel either you know something different is coming, but you don't know what it is, or you feel like you're kind of like in that in between, or there's just like, I know this, but the rest of my world doesn't make sense because something else is evolving. The world is changing. I relate to it, but not in the same way. Or again, there's all these iterations, but it's not of who you have known yourself or believed yourself to be because something else is happening. And in that, there's like well, hold on, what is my place here? Where am I going? What's possible? And how do I navigate this? So you're not lost. You're between versions of yourself. Please share more about that, Yael.
That the idea, I mean, and we're going to feel lost at moments. We actually need to feel lost. We need to feel untethered. We need to feel unanchored so that we can meet the edges. That's where the edges are in this depth, in the messiness. We need to feel messy. We need to breathe into the messiness.
Mm,
And that brings us to feeling the edges of where we can go to next. Because if we always stay in this small container, we never get to feel what's possible. But
hmm
feeling what's possible means we have to unearth, literally unearth, and still stay on the earth. And that's this weird dichotomy for the body to be both unearthed and earthed at the same time. I mean, how does that even occur? And we have to stop asking the questions of how, why, when, where, what, and simply to feel and move. That's exactly what water does.
We get to be.
And the thing is, being is really exciting. It
Mm,
sounds it sounds like we're just being, but it is one of the most exciting places that everything is occurring in complexity. We're being relational.
Mm,
We're being relational. And that's what the world collapsing is pushing us towards, is being relational with not just parts of ourselves, and it can't be with parts of ourselves. And I think all of the galactic, whatever we want, however people are relating to that, however we do that personally, there's such an excitement and fervor there, even in our messiness, even in the places where we're just in the depths of the, what they call the bardo, and that place where things start to just unravel so much that we let it be.
mm. What are some of those places that you consider the edges?
For me, it's different for everyone, because how you
Mm,
feel an edge is not in pushing yourself, actually. It's exactly the opposite.
mm,
There's When you're pushing, you're actually past it. It's such a small window of tolerance that when your body knows when you reach it.
mm,
And for me, that's how I feel, is like, and often I step over it and I come back and I move with it, but it's palpable in a way that you want it to be held by everything around you. That's where you know it's the edge, because often, like, we can't put a word to it. We can't put
mm.
words to it. We want to let go, we want to, surrender. But once we put the word to it, we've sort of lost the feeling of the edge. So how is that possible? We can't know how. We have to not know how to be in mystery.
It's a riddle in the way that you're explaining different ways, but still it's a feeling simultaneously because we all know when we're there. And again, if the guidance is, well, surrender to it or give yourself fully to it, or what are you devoting to? Or if you're at this place of discomfort, go into your shadow and into those places that want your attention. But this is something different that you're talking about.
And there's, yes, of course, like all of the guides are saying this, but remember, they're not saying that. They're not saying it because they're not verbalizing it. They're not wording it because they don't have words, right?
Mm,
It's in that translation, how do we, and you talked about, like, how do we allow the heart to engage with that? Because that's
mm,
where it's coming, because I'm hearing it, but where is it hitting me? Where am I feeling it? And that's the only place that we can create the transformation, is in that window. It's not in the words, because we've heard the words. The we've been channeling for years and years and years, and you know, hundreds and thousands of years. But it's can we get from here into this, which is the human form? So
mm,
they're translating through us, through here. They're not translating the words. We're
mm.
doing that.
We're trying to
It,
interpret and give it meaning so that we can, in a way, control it and be comfortable with it.
it's the comfort. Yeah,
So
exactly.
who are we becoming beyond the edge? What's the purpose of that edge if we're just releasing, or just it's not even releasing, if we're just constantly at that
Mhm.
expansionary divine type of godlike place? Because that's
Mhm.
the edge.
Is there a purpose? Not that I know. I'm just gonna say, like, is there a purpose besides feeling what this world is?
Mm,
Are we getting to any levels? Or I hope that we're becoming more human in these forms, because it's the only opportunity we have to do it.
mhm,
Even in thinking, like, gosh, in remembering my origin story of coming to this planet, it's so beautiful. I mean, like, the idea of, like, not being in this body is incredible, and knowing that feeling of what it was like, so in my body, like, of course I want to be there, and this is my only opportunity to experience this
Hmm.
in the edges because I have an edge.
Right.
I have it. I have you as an edge. I have everyone, like this is an edge as we're creating and expanding this, even though we have no idea what's on the other side. And that's the whole point, is to
Yeah,
not know.
I like referring to it about how masterful we are as human beings, that we have managed to slow down the velocity of everything so much that we can feel an edge, that we can be at such a place that there is a distinction of what can't be separated,
Mm-hmm.
what always in unity consciousness. So to get that slow, it's not that we're less than it. Actually, it's a profound skill,
We
and
have to.
capacity.
We have to. And you mentioned capacity. It means we have incredible capacity
Right.
to be able to slow and to keep slowing in the face of everything else that is collapsing in right now, because it's
Mm,
asking us to speed up and speed up and speed up. And every time we keep pulling back and slowing, we actually create more space
mm,
for whatever is being birthed next. It's the only way we create more space, is to keep slowing down and to keep having the pauses
mm,
and to keep being uncomfortable and to have that capacity of discomfort grow,
mm.
and compassion. Compassion is so important. It's such a human skill, compassion. Like, we don't have to have compassion when we're not embodied, because we are purity, we're singularity,
There's no need for it.
not in singularity. Yeah, we're
Mm,
complexity embodied. And we've got to have compassion for that, because we're only seeing minor pieces in every being. So
mhm,
how can I approach the movers that just moved my bed out of here to take it somewhere with that same compassion? Because I only see the smallest part of them, because they're
mhm.
that phase of this entire complexity, because it's breathing all of us.
So you're inviting us to see into a bigger percentage of that, to have to witness without having to create the form of what's coming through or what's being expressed through another.
And what, like, could you imagine that you don't have to have the responsibility of creating form anymore?
Hmm. I can imagine. Yes. But I kind of like creating form though. It's kind of cool.
It is, but what would it be like if, like, we didn't have that responsibility and it happened without the responsibility of doing it?
Mm. Right.
Because I look at these flowers and they're opening up on their own, but I don't have the responsibility, although I'm interacting with them, because they wouldn't be opening up in this way if they weren't interacting with me in particular.
Hmm.
If you had the same flowers, they would be interacting differently with you and opening up differently. But
Yeah.
I don't have the responsibility to make that happen as much as our relationship does. And that's the piece of, like, how our relationship is what creates form.
Hmm. I like to synthesize it as part of what you're speaking, and I'm sure it's just a small portion of it. But is instead of trying to be God on a continuous basis, it's letting go and letting God.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And we've had that phrase, we've known what it's like. We create these words, but then
Hmm.
we got to step back and be in between the worlds and the
Right.
words, and in that space, because
What's the space
that's
that created that saying? Because that knew where it was creating it from.
that was that relational space.
Right. Okay,
That
so
was the relational.
how is it that you guide people in workshops and in private sessions with what you're sharing now? Because it's like, okay, and I can, there's a feeling tone and a field that gets created when you're speaking in such a way. But again, when you're working with individuals and inviting them into the field, I'll call it the exchange, it's for lack of a better word based on our conversation, but But what is that relational dynamic that allows them to be in a permissible field to be in that fluidity?
It's interesting the word what I connected with you on that was permissible.
Yeah. And I use it intentionally. Yes.
Hmm. Hmm. And where do we, if that's, where do we allow ourselves to have permission to enter in? And we can only have that field to the points where we allow each of ourselves to be let into that space
Hmm.
at that exact moment. So the vulnerability is that's where you allow, that's what creates the expansion.
Mm.
Simply, how will we step into this field? What vulnerability will we bring to this field? And it is all perfect because that's what's going to create this next matrix and energy. But simply, we have no idea. So to hold a space of no idea with such expansion and possibility,
Mm.
that's the edge. That's what starts, like, you can feel it in your body when you say it, that the aliveness starts to come into the field.
Hmm.
And how do we hold that? And how do we create another layer? Because people start to have these moments where they say, here's what's going on for me. And once someone sees that and another person mirrors and resonates with that, that opens the field even more and more. And we all do it together because there's simply no way that this is not me, this is all of us creating this, because I'm that one part of it. So we have to have everyone there to do it, whether
Mm.
it's a one-on-one or whether it's the group, to be able to have the contraction, and you feel the contraction expansion that continues to happen.
Mm.
That's the interesting piece of this, to watch and to be able to feel that and be okay when it's contracting and be okay when it's expanding, and still have safety in that place.
Right. What happens in those expansion and contractions is we're also stumbling upon, if you will, we're being guided to new thresholds.
Mhm.
And again, a lot in different communities, and we've certainly done it here different ways, and we're evolving and understanding it differently. A lot of times we got the threshold is like we knew that there was a crossing point, but sometimes thresholds is like people want to go board up the doorway because they think it's broken. It's like if I just fix that, then everything's gonna be okay. Everything will be back to normal. I'll be comfortable again, or I'll be in something that I've known that fulfilled me for quite some time.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but thresholds are really something different. Talk more about that.
And thresholds, portals, doorways, they're all, they are all us, whatever. Again, it's a term, however you want to feel into it for yourself. Like, I encourage you to feel the wording and the tonality that comes from that space. Name it whatever you want that feels alive for you. But it really turns things over when we approach these edges, the portals, because they've been open there. They're, we walk by them all the time, whether they're internally or whether they're being projected externally. We walk by them all the time because they're through other people, they're through actual spaces themselves. But there's always an opportunity to
Mm,
turn something over and understand ourselves in that edge that becomes a completely new perception in a
mm,
moment. It literally happens in the moment, and you're over, you're under, you're around, and you don't know how you got there because it just
mm,
happened in the synergistic connection with that moment with the other.
mm.
It generally doesn't happen ever on our own because we have to engage with something else. other energies, other beings, nature, another person. It has to have that excitatory stage that shifts something within that was
Mm,
just ready to shift. And there's no program to do it. I can't follow these steps to become this. There are no steps to it. It's just that presence of being there and being in the flow of that. There's nothing more than that. If I could say, like, here's the book, here's the thing, if you do these 10 steps, you're going to be there and you're going to have this. But there isn't that. It is simply about your presence in the moment.
mm,
And you have to, like, it could be in the messiest moments. It could be in the most expansive moments. It's any of that space where you're solely present there without knowing that something's going to shift. Because the
mm,
moment you put an expectation on something, it's now changed. We've lost the
mm,
moment. We've lost the moment. So we almost sit there with what's around and not fixing. It's the not fixing because nothing is literally broken to fix.
mm,
Even the collapsing of everything that's happening right now, there's nothing broken about this.
mm.
Nothing. It isn't comfortable at all, but nothing is broken to fix or change. We have to grieve it. We have to grieve what's been there
Mm.
and stay in this middle space, in this liminal space, because we don't know what's being birthed.
Well, and part of the grieving also, I want to say I believe, but I know is more the truth of it. The grieving is where we've denied truth for so long,
Mm,
and there's a surrender into grieving that part of the story, grieving what was held for so long, grieving the investment in it, grieving the energy, grieving all that. And it's really an expansion into coming into harmonic more of the divine truth, more of a truth that really is the essence of love, but it's stepping into it and then being willing to feel the onslaught of the waves of energy and
mm,
emotions that come through us when we're open to love in such a pure and really
mhm.
dramatic way from our point of view.
It does seem dramatic, right? I
Yeah.
mean, absolutely, like the grieving and the unfolding and then the opening. It does seem so dramatic, but I think that's also like because these bodies are so limited, it
Mm,
feels dramatic. It feels dramatic because it has to in
yeah.
this form. It has to. So that unearthing of the truth with grieving of those parts of ourselves that we just couldn't hold or someone couldn't hold for us.
Mm,
Most of the time that someone couldn't hold for us,
yeah.
that they
Or
weren't able to see.
what we left unexpressed as well,
Yeah.
or we withheld that, where we couldn't show up
Mhm.
for that truth for whatever reason. It wouldn't, it just wouldn't communicate itself through our vessel, even though it was alive in us.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of it. Like this vessel is so incredible that it holds all of that.
Mm,
It holds all of that until we're ready for that to be expressed in whatever form it looks like. I mean,
mm,
what else does that?
right, right. It's absolutely it's such a miracle really to experience and to be a witness of simultaneously. And this takes me into, part of what you wanted to share on the call today also about the quietest parts of us that are speaking the loudest.
Mm, mhm. Yeah, when we really sit down to listen, those quiet parts that have been just really waiting and so patient.
Mm,
It's like they're the little ones that have been just waiting for their turn to say something and to be as big as they want to be. And they're the ones that we feel the most. And they come through the feelings in the body,
Mm,
the sensing in the body in so many different ways. And I think that ties into like, how do we feel our edges? We go to those places with we go to those places to
mm,
feel our bodies. And there's so many, that's the reason why we have this form, to be able to sense and feel these emotions and these
mm.
experiences. Otherwise, we couldn't. It's the only
Yeah.
way. And so we've got to use this in ways that we can start to feel through it,
Hmm.
to feel through it, because that's how they're screaming at us a lot of times, and we're over here checking Instagram and doing all of the quick things that people do, whereas there's a lot more scrolling in our bodies than on Instagram.
Mm,
If we just took the moments to scroll in through everything that's occurring in here, we'd have we'd have so much compassion and love and understanding of how to be our part in this, of what we want our part to be.
hmm. Well, and I think also the invitation is to become so fascinating with ourselves, become so fascinated of who you be
Yeah.
for yourself, because the wonder, the miracle, the complexity, the technology, the spirit, the soul, the intelligence, the wisdom, the innocence, the all of it. And again, but we get caught up on who's selling what on this other thing that's doing this thing that's giving us a 2 minute dopamine hit. But what if we can be our own dopamine hits on a continuous basis? What if we
Right.
could ignite that within ourselves?
Right. Because out there is not going to give you the 5-step process to get to your purpose. And it's, it is that slowing down, and it's the being in love.
Hmm.
There's a poet who just passed away 2 days ago, yesterday, Andrea Gibson. And she said when she met her current wife, when she just passed, she said, again, like, her partner asked her, like, how are you in love with yourself? Tell me the ways that you're in love with yourself
Hmm.
before me first.
Hmm. So beautiful. So beautiful. And my condolences for your friend also and for her family and her partner. And so beautiful. And so beautiful. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to get into Q&A in just a little bit. So if
Mhm.
y'all want to ask questions, raise your hand, type your questions into the chat box. I want y'all to be in the fluidity of Yael on the call with us today. And I know there's some wisdom coming through, yeah, through y'all as well. But before I take my live call, and we'll get into a special offer of the private session in a little bit, um, share a little bit more about your awareness of some of the disorientation that we may be feeling now, some of the lack of motivation or feeling like we're kind of like spinning in a void right now with no clear direction, or there's a little movement, but then we kind of seem to land back.
Mhm.
Uh, what's your
Mhm.
experience of that with the people that you've been working with, and also this relational intelligence that you're with on the macro
Mhm.
that's really illuminating something more that's happening than we might believe.
Yeah, because what we're visualizing and seeing is system collapse. We can
Mm,
see it. It's not difficult, right? But really, because we're living in this hologram, it's already passed so far behind that it's simply the remnant, right? It's not actually occurring right now. It's just the remnant and the fuzziness, which is why it feels confusing, because it's looks like it's happening. It's sort of
mm,
fuzzy, but it's not really happening. And so in our systems, where our systems are feeling like we've passed it, but then what the brain is inputting, because we're visually seeing is something fuzzy that's collapsing. So how does our the system process that and make sense of it? Because energetically, what's moving through us is not that, right?
Mm.
We've that is literally, I mean, we did this 12, 15 years ago already, right? This had already collapsed. The world has already collapsed 12 to 15-ish years ago. It just seems like it. So we're talking about it now,
Mm.
but our systems have already done this.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the truth. It has already happened.
Hmm.
So we're trying to regulate our system with what we're seeing, but what energetically where we are is that we're really on this, we're on the edge already, which is why it feels like we want to keep moving into it. It's like your body's like, yes, there is this possibility. Yes.
Mm.
But then it's like, but wait, because I walk around the world, I still walk around in one reality of everything that's happening out there.
Hmm.
And I know that that's not happening. And that's the liminal space. That's the edges that if we can become really adept at holding all of that, then it won't feel so disjointed.
Hmm.
It's because we're taught to be in a narrow place. But it's everything that's happening at the same time.
Hmm.
And it's easy to forget that, and it's easy for our systems to forget that. It's not that we don't have to still hold some of that fuzziness and the remnants and what's occurring. We have to hold that.
Right.
And we have to hold everything else. We have to hold everything.
Mm.
That's the push and pull and start and stop.
We have to hold everything and not hold anything at all simultaneously.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's where we get to the same.
Yes. It's interesting. Several years ago, actually, I had the same experience in two different times in ceremonies where I was deep in my meditation and in the journey, and I was just in this liminal space, complete darkness, and all of a sudden these colors start appearing and this feeling starts, and I'm witnessing creation as creation is happening. And I was just in the wow of the witnessing creation, like tears and the beauty is just wow. And the second the thought came in, creation stopped. I
Mm-hmm.
paused it.
Mm-hmm.
And that form of creation came more into like my physical density is like, wait, hold on a second. I was just witnessing the divine in action.
Mm-hmm.
And then I dropped myself back in it. It's like, all right, let me just let go of all thoughts, of all needing to be or do or to interpret. But let me just be in that liminal space again and just being rather than having to interpret. And then all of a sudden, and then all the emotions started flowing through me again and awe
Mm-hmm.
and wonder and
Mm-hmm.
so much love and so much, it was beyond what words can engage. But the thought and the needing to provide a meaning beyond the meaning that was already happening
Yeah,
shut down the field.
right. And that's where we keep moving. We're not going to only be on one side of it. It's the capacity to continually do that and
Mm,
to be able to take that macro and come back and see that happening. Because we do have to create density. That's what that is this form. We do create words. I mean, words words can be extremely live and then they're not. And then, it is the meaning making. That's what these bodies and forms do because meaning is form.
mhm. And then we align the words according to our emotions and our experiences in human
Mhm.
form, and we get to express that creativity through an outward motion of beingness. It's just so
Yes.
wonderful. Y'all, there's so much here with y'all. And again, I invite y'all to drop in questions. We had something coming from Christina. She writes, it's just so uncomfortable to sit in the discomfort and not know which way to go. To be in the unknown, especially this year. Trust and faith is where I go to or where I've landed. It feels natural and safe. Is there anything else that we can do to feel safe?
What I mean, I think what is safety?
Hmm.
How do we, what is, I mean, is that's we've been using this term safety.
And what is it? Is really the question because what stories are we telling around safety that our bodies are cashing in?
And sometimes it's like, okay, safety and danger becomes that it drops into a binary of there's danger and there's safety, which is a bit of this, structure that's collapsing, is that we can be in danger and we can be in safety. But the middle space is between the two.
Well,
So,
I think what also comes in on that is that we are confusing comfort with safety now.
mhm,
Because you're in a political disagreement with someone and then they're on your side and they raise their voice, it doesn't mean that you're not safe. It's just that it's uncomfortable. But we've started giving the words and this inflated meaning that charges our system and contracts our expression. It's it's we have shifted into such an empathic state of interpreting fear that we've taken it from discomfort into something bad is going to happen to me if I feel uncomfortable in this way.
mhm. Which is different. And it isn't that there are unsafe situations
Of
for
course.
that doesn't discount doesn't that is still present.
Of
Absolutely.
course.
There is still so much unsafety, but I think yeah, that's where we see discomfort, and there's a big gap I think between that. But it's how much capacity do we have in our body to feel discomfort, and where are the edges? Because sometimes our edges are our bodies, and sometimes they're even closer into our bodies are those edges,
Mhm.
and that's where we work.
Even having these conversations, some people, I don't feel safe having these conversations because no one's going to receive it. I'm going to be ridiculed. I'm going to be diminished somehow. It's not safe to express the truth of who I am. It's not that it's not safe. It's like let's redefine. It may not feel safe because being rejected doesn't feel safe. Being ostracized from a community that you want to belong to doesn't feel safe. And I understand context of that, but I think we have to ground it in such a way that let's really reinterpret what that is. Where am I choosing not to expand into something that's available to me because I am bringing in a consciousness and an energy that this is really life or death if I don't choose this in this particular way. And it's providing stopgaps that really don't serve us.
And I think, you asked about how do we do that in group or individual sessions, is really we create this container together where we can hold and breathe into and go into the discomfort in our bodies and
Hmm.
know that. And that's why water is so incredibly special, because it is its own container of holding.
Mm.
If that it's an incredible container, but that's what we do in sessions, is we create these containers so that we can start to push the edges. And one of the things I really think is important is that people come into with consent.
Hmm.
It's that there is an active capacity to say no, to ask questions, to say, is this too much? And we have those dialogues. Have we reached that point? Is it where are we? And how do you know that you're at the edge? What does that feel like in your body? So that you can understand where edges are, and you can say, that's, I'm at the edge. And that being able to create your own container of boundaries, that helps us be okay with being uncomfortable.
Mm. How, and since we're talking about it, and we'll get into a special offer in a second in more detail, but this is part of it since it's private sessions with you. what arises in sessions with you in this particular ways? I get that there is presence. I
Mm.
get that there's edges that you somehow have a capacity to see within people and guide them towards and invite
Mhm.
them to. Um, but what's an arc of a session for people who are interested in going in deeper with you?
It often ends and I'll start at the end point because it often ends with incredible possibility
Mm,
and being able to feel that possibility in the body and in your space. And it doesn't mean that that's going to last forever or even 5 minutes. But as we build up those feelings, so it generally ends like, wow, there is I can feel that expansion. Whether I decide to do something with that energy or not, that's up to the person. But
mm,
you start to feel like you have access to it. And that's where it changes, is that you have access to that. So going back to the starting of it, people come in with a story. Everyone comes with a story. It's a place where humans connect is on stories. But pretty quickly, we drop the story and we move into the actual edges because the story tells us something about what you're bringing to. It's just masked in all the metaphor. And
mm,
then we get to go into metaphors that flip the narrative on its end,
mm,
that are completely different, that one would have never thought about, and that starts to feel like, oh my gosh, I never thought about that. Wow, that's exciting. And then once it gets exciting, it's like, oh, I've hit an edge. And then people start to pull back a little bit and they go back into the story. And then we move them a little forward. So it's this dance that we do
mm,
throughout that time. And then we end up generally in that place where, like, I have access to this.
mm,
It may be the first time, it may be the 100th time, but it's reminding ourselves that we have access to that and
mm,
we can use that energy. And that's love. That energy is pure truth, is pure love.
most certainly.
All of that is God, is all of that. So you get back to remembering. It's like coming back home,
Mm,
that you have that energy and you have that power,
mm,
for lack of a better word, within you. And so you can go into whatever your next experience is with that and decide.
But you have more of that fluidity within you. It arises that oceanic
Yes.
flow has a
Yes.
bigger pathway to navigate through.
Yes, because before you felt like you were disjointed and you couldn't get, and it was things were separate and you were frictioning against everything. And then that friction drops away because the story drops away. And
Hmm.
so there could be grief in there. There could be tears. There could be awe. We don't know how that relational experience is going to happen, but there will be more space to
When you
feel
allow the
that
water to
energy.
go through the threshold, it removes the debris in its own power, its own
Yeah.
volition. The debris doesn't have to figure out how to move itself.
No. Mm-mm. And it takes with it the information that's important. And that's where you're like, oh my God, now I can do this because it was in that space.
And it's
And
because
that's what water does.
as the water does also, as it comes through, the debris that's there also winds up going to the next level of the edges, and that becomes the fertilizer for the new growth that's
Correct.
taking place as well.
That's exactly when we don't when we have rivers and we don't straighten them, that winding and the edges, it takes information from all of that's fertilized and it becomes, and that's why it's so incredible when you get to the end of something, of a stream or from a mountain, because that's pure water. That is like alive pure water that has all the energy and all the knowledge.
Hmm. Ah, such a great metaphor, such a great technology, amazing. Yeah, we're going to get the special offer here. To do that, the link is in the chat box. Chris just typed it in. And you can also click on the special offer button right underneath the live video or you're watching or on the replay. And as people are logging onto special offer, I have this question or this comment came in from, oh, let me find the example from Laura. Um, oh, Laura, congratulations, 18 years sober today and blessings to you.
Mm.
And she writes, I've had issues with being safe for years. Little Laura never felt safe and still doesn't. It has nothing to do with being uncomfortable, though. I'm confused.
I think this is a great question to start to talk about in an individual session, honestly, because there's a lot to unpack
Mhm.
there. And I think there's some jumps between the uncomfortable and the safety and the confusion that I would encourage you to do a session that we can really, I think, clarify and
Mhm.
unfold some of that for you. You know, generally, these are the smaller parts of ourselves, the quieter parts that don't have space to speak.
Mhm.
There hasn't been, the containers for them to speak. Once they start, can it be uncomfortable? Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you're navigating some of that. Um, so yeah, I mean, and I think there's also some really great resources out there too. This doesn't have to just be, but there's some, because I know, so, there's with disability, I totally understand it. A lot of this happens when people have, we've got uh, pain throughout the body. That's a lot of what comes up in our body are those quieter voices that haven't been heard. And what's coming up those voices trying to be heard in whatever way they can, in
Mhm.
whatever way they can. So
So it's not
yeah.
about fixing it, it's about being with it.
Mhm.
It's about
Listening
being
to it,
with it.
having compassion, allowing it space to speak. And you can always do this individually. You can give it space to speak. You can dialogue with these parts.
Mhm.
Those are some great tools too. Yeah.
Yeah, I would suggest dialoguing with those parts in front of a mirror
Hmm.
and then
Hmm.
getting a response back and whatever comes back, write it down. Take that as gospel instead of needing to edit. Um, Allow it to talk to you directly, uninhibited, unconditionally. Um, so there's a lot there. Um,
Yeah.
let's get into the special offer because it's been a while since you've been on, so I was really excited to see what you're creating for the show, and this is pretty awesome. You've got two different offers to choose from, and the first one, package A, starts with a journey in the in-between. Tell us more about that.
Yeah. I think, I love the group work because I think it's really powerful because we're there as a community. And I think right now that is really the season that we're in,
Mhm.
is creating these communities of care and support, right? We're we've been doing we've been doing so much work on ourselves individually, right? And this is a time to really come together because we're in transition. We're outgrowing relationships, roles, who we were, and to be able to see others and share spaces,
Mhm.
it can be incredibly powerful. So that's what I love, first of all, just about the containers that we create, because we couldn't create them without everyone being there. But it's really for, like, if you feel like you're wanting to be witnessed, that there's a space that you want to enter into softly. It really has this deeper layer to it that it allows you to start to unravel in and orient to who you are, right? We do a lot of body-based practices that start the grieving and unwinding, because we've got to let that go. There's the unwinding that's happening of who we thought we were, like we talked about earlier. And I think that, once we get to that, it everything starts to quiet down because we're not circling through the same noises that we've always heard, that we always enter into. And what we then start to come into is, like, there's a little bit more quiet. I can start to feel a little bit more
Mhm.
into that what's being unseen. or what I thought was unseen. And now it's starting to become, it's got space to show its face and to see the colors exactly like you were describing before in ceremony and sessions. Like, oh, the creation is starting to show itself.
Hmm.
And then we say, like, okay, this is, we're remembering this. And we still want to allow it to continually softly emerge. It's almost like this, it's always turning over, it's always emerging, it's constantly being reborn. And we start to take that throughout our sessions. So we go through that over a 3 week period of time.
Mm,
And it gives us space in between to integrate and to feel that and to be with ourselves and see how it fits in our lives.
mm.
So I think it's going to be such a beautiful, caring, loving session, and really gentle for people who are looking to not just like throw themselves into something.
Well, and what I can really appreciate what you're sharing and feeling deeply, that rebirth that is being experienced, it doesn't have to be an exhaustive,
Mhm.
like this cocoon busting metamorphosis. It really can be quite activating. It's something that we can be excited about and in wonder of and in awe of simultaneously.
Mhm. And we need to be, and we need to have time for that to happen, right?
Hmm.
If we're just constantly, expanding and we've got to have time to really see, like, wow, that is, I am, we are all of that. And just even in saying that, you can like, you breathe into that
Hmm.
and it settles in.
Hmm.
And it's interesting, like even just feeling that now as we've been moving through this session together, we're experiencing that the same timeline,
Hmm.
the same shifting throughout our experience together now. Is that what is all this unfolding? And now we're really starting like, oh yeah, okay. And you feel in your body and you feel the settling.
Hmm. Beautiful. So,
That's what it is.
the special offer again, package A or package B includes everything in package A plus a 1 hour one-on-one session. It's 1 hour, right? Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, 1 hour session with Yael. Go deep. And my session with Yael was like, I was in that watery space. I'm 10 houses of water, so I was at home in so many different ways. It's amazing to be held in that level of consciousness because I've been speaking about this, Yael. A lot of our spirituality and religion for millennia. We've been holding the kindergarten level of understanding. Love each other, don't kill each other, be kind to each other, and then the world will be good. And
Hmm.
that's wonderful. And we're repeating the same thing over and over again, which is yes, it's the foundation of it all, but there's a greater understanding and experience that frankly we have been preparing for and have been capable of, but now we have the capacity, the creativity, the wherewithal to express it's like, and there's more, and there's
Mm,
more, and there's more.
right.
Um, and how wonderful. So y'all, the
Yeah.
experience of that, of there's more. It's beyond holding a space of just the basics, the foundation, which again are absolute beautiful, so complex, if you will, and simple simultaneously with love. Um, but we get to
Hmm.
understand them from other spaces and new thresholds than what we've held each other in for quite a long time. So again, that's what those private sessions have
So,
held with me, that there's more, the oceanic
yeah.
consciousness of that. But then you're also taking people in package A, y'all. These are live courses or live sessions. They're going to take place Wednesdays at 9
Hmm.
a.m. Pacific on July 30th, August 6th, and August 13th. And tell everybody what's going to happen in these, y'all.
Yeah, that's where we're going to start off. And the important piece of this is that the container and that everyone has a place and that there's deep understanding and containment and respect and consent in these containers. But we're going to unravel things.
Mm,
So coming to this space, and we're going to do it gently. because there's nothing that I don't I work gently in a powerful way because the moment that you're gentle, things open up an incredible amount. The
Mm,
moment that you say there's nothing to fix, everything just opens. So that it's so important for us in the unraveling. We're not going to pull things apart. We're just going to allow them to slowly do their thing. So we bring something in, and I want people to bring in something that they think they're working on. A lot of times that completely shifts, and we have all the space for that. But what feels like it's unraveling, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more so that we can actually get a sense of like this has dissolved and we can have a grieving for that.
mm,
And once we have space, once we've done a little bit of grieving, then we can actually dive into a deeper, like somatic practice and remembrance of these
mm,
spaces. And that's where a lot of the really cool stuff I think happens because people see how amazingly intelligent and already connected to these galactic origins they already are, that they
mhm,
don't need all of this stuff to be doing, but they already are that.
mm,
And then in the third session, we just get to take that forward. We get to
mm.
take that forward and we get to be that at this moment in
Yeah.
our lives.
It's funny because you were sharing, those things that we think that we're working on. I've gotten a lot of times when I believe I'm working on something, just pausing. It's like, I'm not working on this. This is working on me, actually. Um, and again, it's pushing that stuff to fertile ground,
Mhm.
because there's a loving presence that's emanating, not because there's an outside power outside of me that's running that, but there's really that within me that is
Mhm.
evolving at the edge of the consciousness of what else is possible. And so
Yeah.
we start receiving ourselves in that capacity. It's tremendous what becomes alive in our awareness of the experience.
Mhm. Just when we have those moments of remembrance that we're that fractal
Mm.
piece.
Yeah, can y'all feel that? Can y'all feel that right now? Just on the call, just dropping into that, remembering that you are that fractal piece, that it is you. That everything,
Yeah.
even what you seek or the communication from your guides or from the galactics, from the angelics, from God, that it's you. It's been you all along. Amazing. Amazing. Y'all, the special offer, you're gonna want to dive in with y'all. It's just you can feel the fluidity here. I can. I wonder if y'all can. Some of y'all have already written that you can in different ways, so it's wonderful. Everybody, the special offer right there. Package A is $111. Package B includes the private session plus the workshops. That's $222. There's a two payment option on every special offer on BTO for the most part. Certainly is on this one. And I hope you all have an opportunity to dive in. Again, I was greatly impacted with my sessions with Yael last time I had it. And what an amazing opportunity to to feel and to experience and to excavate that
Mm.
love within you. Amazing. Um, yeah, there's a question. Catherine, and I'm going to read this also. Um, I'll read the whole comment. So, yeah, thank you for your love. You're mirroring. I feel it so strongly. I'm experiencing connecting with my little one inside intensely, and I'm also drawn to swimming in the sea right now. Can you give me advice on communion with the sea to help me release? Last night I dreamt that I was swimming with octopus. Not sure where that dream came in, but can you offer any insight?
I love, I mean, the water is the dream world as well. It
Mm,
is the dream world. You know, that's where we go to is the waters. We know that it holds all the information that we've ever experienced on this planet and galactically, right? The water came from our original origins. So it has all of that. So the asking is we're powerful when we ask and we relate. And
Mm,
it's not, there are, again, there's no rules. There's no ways to doing things. We are creating these ways by our relational experiences. So that dream in itself was the relational experience is already starting. That's the instruction.
mm,
It's telling you, and every time you speak to it, you're connecting with the energy of the octopus and what is that for you, and being in the water with it.
mm,
You're already doing it. There is no other pathway, and so it's about feeding and nurturing that relationship. We're here to nurture relationship. We wouldn't all be here as fractal parts if we didn't need to nurture relationship to become whole.
mm,
Everything's collapsing because it's so disjointed. And so what we're coming towards is we're remembering that we are whole together. And so every time I can nurture relationship, that's that's the information is in the nurturing of relationship, because I remember who I am, because I'm here with all of you guys. I'm here and I start to remember all these parts of myself
mm,
because I'm in a relationship with y'all. That's how it happens. That's how I remember who I am.
beautiful. So let's get into a little bit of the opposite, just for contrast and for awareness. What are some of the things that we maybe do every day that do not nurture a relationship?
For me,
Mm,
it's it's every time I interact with someone where I feel like I am, and we all like this is, we have to do this. We have to do this opposite part.
yeah,
It
yeah.
isn't as if like, oh, when I ascend, I'm never going to do this. We will always do it when we're in
That's why
this
I wanted to
body.
ask this because it's yes and yes and yes and.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The moments when I feel like, say, like, ah, there could be a financial stress or there could be a health related stress. And I feel like I'm alone in this. And that it all of us, it starts to separate me more and more and more. When really what I need to do is lean in more and more and more. But
Mm,
I end up not doing that until I get this far back. And someone hopefully is still standing there waiting for me to lean into them because they haven't left. And they're just gently saying, and which all the galactic energies are doing that too. They're like, I'm still here. We're still here. We're still here. We're still waiting. The same thing with these small voices inside. They're like, we're still waiting. We're still here.
mm,
And that leaning in, like, okay, that moment when someone cooked me dinner and I felt nourished by it because I didn't have to make it myself. And then I can soften and start to lean in more and more. And then again, I'm going to go back out again because I'm going to be busy and not feeling. And then that's what happens is we keep leaning in and leaning out because that's how energy moves.
mm,
It narrows and it expands. So I have to feel the other in this form. I absolutely have to feel the opposite in this form. When I'm not embodied, it's great because I don't ever have to do that. But I have to feel the edges, and that's why we feel edges. That's why in the ocean we only know 10% of what's actually in the ocean because
mm,
most of it is dark. But I have to go to those places. I have to get closer to that darkness to be able
right.
to remember and look up and see the light that's coming through.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
the darkness isn't the totality of the current. So it's wonderful in the expression of the metaphor also because as we divert and go into some of the divergent spaces, that current is constant and it will draw us back into that expansionary relationship rather than the one that needs the contradiction so that it can experience um, itself in that creation, but also even in that creation, you're also acting as a conduit for other divergence.
Mhm.
consciousness to come into the stream as well. So we're all leading each other back into the purity of that flow.
Yeah. We're all somewhere on this
Mm,
spiral, imploding and exploding in there, in this, washing machine of energetic movement.
mm. And if we understand the purpose of that, really for the experience of unity and for love, but also for the experience of the contrast,
Mhm.
then perhaps we wouldn't be so much in the hellish fear that we sometimes put ourselves in, but acknowledge the fear as it comes up as an alchemical function of what is coming back into its original source.
Yes. Because the fear literally is I'm going to die.
Yeah. Feeling is I'm going to be
That is
taken
the fear.
off. Right. Yeah.
Exactly. That's the bottom line. That is the fear. I'm going to die.
Hmm. And that's partially true because there are parts of you that are
Yep.
going to die. So there's truth in everything,
It has to come back up to the light. It
right?
just is it the form now? Is it some other part?
Hmm.
Yeah, there's is always some part that is going to die. And that's okay. When when that's ready, that's okay.
It's inevitable.
And I also I work with older patients and something. They're like, "Are you?" They're like, "I don't want to live here anymore." I'm like, "That's okay then. That's okay. If you're done, you're done.
Hmm.
If those parts of you are done, it's okay. You don't need to hold on to them anymore."
Yeah.
And that's the grieving.
Hmm.
That's why grieving is important. That's why ritual with grieving is important because you can lay those pieces down on in ceremony.
What's your experience in how different people experience grief, and allow it because sometimes it's just this flood
Mhm.
of a wave of emotions that come through. But other times it can seem very composed and it's lit off a little bit by a little bit. Is
Mhm.
there, what's the question? It's from my experience, it eventually reveals itself and eventually comes through. But what is it that we can be aware of when maybe we're trying too hard to override it, that that we're suppressing something that really is going to benefit, or really is an organic process that has to be part of our metamorphosis.
I think that ties in with the uh, threshold, the portal, and why we have these groups and why we do ritual with grieving because the holding and the patience
Mm,
until because grief will happen in waves for the rest of your life. That's part of grief. Some days we'll be on the floor in the grocery store. Other times we'll feel bits of it and remember, you know, someone threw a plant or those are that's the waves that we want to be held within. And
I'm
that
laughing first of all because I'm trying to picture you in an experience where someone was on the floor in the grocery store throwing a plant, and so I'm bringing some levity to it. But it's like,
what and you know what
it,
that is the great part of like working with grief and having these grief circles because I also do that and it's like yeah I think people that deal with death and grief are the funniest like light of everything because it is light. It's like and people are like you can't do that like of course you can. You
yeah.
have to be able to do that about death to
Mm,
make it less and because it also respects it so much in
yeah.
having levity. It's also respect.
Mm. It's I loved one of the scenes in in the Lord of the Rings, and I'm a Lord of the Rings fan, and
Mhm.
Gandalf is explaining to one of the hobbits, it looks like they're about to die and they're facing death because the castle's being stormed by the enemies, by the orcs. And the hobbit asks, "It's like, what's your experience of death? Aren't you afraid? We're at the end." And Gandalf says, "This isn't the end. It's just the beginning, right?" And it's the celebration of the new beginning, the awareness of that from that really mystical standpoint. But there's a part of us that already knows that.
Mhm. And it's okay for us to come on, and that edge of like holding back, that's an edge.
Hmm.
The containing and not wanting to go there yet, that's an edge. And that's what containers do. They like, yes. And that's what I work with people individually is like, okay, let's be at that edge together.
Hmm.
We don't need to step over when you're ready, but I'm standing here next to you at that edge,
Hmm.
feeling what you're feeling there.
And there's something so precious about being in this human experience that we don't want to let go of some of it. We're like, hold on a second. It's like there's more, there's more, there's more, there's more, there's more. I want to go on the ride again, or I'm not finished
Mm-hmm,
experiencing what I thought I was going to be here to experience. And so
mm-hmm.
again, to honor all of it,
Yeah.
not see one as wrong, but to understand and have more compassion for why that is resisting is quite beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And that all, happens when we get a sense of it. That is a knowing in the body.
Hmm.
When it becomes a knowing in the body, that's actually when we can release. That's when we can step over the threshold, is when there's a knowing of that in the body. We can
What
tell someone, yeah, good.
I was going to ask you, what happens in the group calls with you when you show up in group calls? Like, what presents itself in the field? God, I haven't sat in a group call with you, so I'm so curious about the different experiences.
Hmm. Um, there is there's I think a lot of like curiosity. I think
Mm,
that's the biggest piece of it. There's a lot of curiosity about what's going to be there that then starts to turn into curiosity of what's inside.
mm,
And there's then that's when the, narratives and the emotions and everything starts to unravel and unfold in the way that it needs to unfold. Um, I always laugh when like we've played this timeline over before because now I'm like, oh, we've done this timeline. I just remembered we've done this timeline already, and
uh,
so like, oh, we did this. Okay,
it's already happened. We're
yeah,
playing rewind.
yeah. I just remember that. Oh yeah, we had that. So it's yeah, and then it starts to unravel for people, and then there's nothing more to actually unravel because
Mm,
it's already there.
it's
So there's nothing to do. And we didn't need to spend the last hour and a half doing it because it was already done. That's how they go.
it's already done, but what's so okay, it's already done, and that would imply that there's something else to do, but the really reality is that there's nothing else to do. So what's happening?
What is happening? Where, yeah, what is happening in this circle?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
what
We're
a journey.
sometimes I feel like we're just laughing at ourselves mostly. Just
We're quite
like
entertaining.
we are so entertaining.
Mm.
That's why death is also like there's laughter. Like we're we're it's not so serious.
It's a Shakespearean dramedy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Ups. We're the center of
Yep.
our stories.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But what
And
beautiful
everyone plays
experience.
every role.
Yeah, and what
Yeah.
beautiful experiences though, how we get to show up and love one another and show up for one another and
Yeah.
guide one another
That's it.
and
That's
allow
it.
ourselves to be guided simultaneously, obviously.
Yeah. That's it. It's the
Mm,
remembering and coming back home.
mhm. Mm.
Nothing more.
Wow.
Simple,
Wow.
playful.
Yeah, it feels like the stuckness as I become the frozen molecule of hydrogen. And it just needs to melt a little bit.
Hmm. The melting. Yes, the melting.
I
Yeah,
slowed down the density way too much, and all right, let's bring in some fluidity to it.
that's right. So you're just, modulating the harmonics of and the
Nice.
vibrational level
Yes.
of it all.
Mm.
It's like we're DJing. I just want to do that like scratching records thing. Exactly.
Some require a little more scratching than others.
That's
I know I
right.
do sometimes. Amazing. This is so cool. Yeah, the special offer with Yael, it's ah so beautiful. Again, the three live classes in the group setting in August. The dates are on the special offer page. And then the one-on-one session, which I highly recommend based on my experience. The prices are on there, $111 for the live webinars, which are will be recorded and replays will be available, correct, Yael?
Hmm.
Great.
Yep.
And the one-on-one session, y'all, for the one-on-one sessions, there's a 90-day window. Once you should book your session within 90 days, or else Yael's schedule gets crazy and she needs to commit to other things. So it's important to be aware of that. But again, I cannot recommend the session enough. I hope you take advantage of that. And y'all, as we're winding up tonight's call, is there anything else that you want to share as we just like wrap up this fluid conversation and field? And so a
Mm.
beautiful bow to carry forward for the rest of our evening and into the next day.
Ah, hmm. I mean, I feel this aliveness and excitement and joy that we co-created
Mm,
that's going to now move in space and time and in this universe. Like
mm.
that was it. Like we did it. We did it, you guys. Whether anything happens after this or not, we did it.
It's happening. What are you talking about?
Exactly. That's it. That's it. We did it. We did
Mm.
it.
We took it
We
out
did
of
it.
the edge, and I want to thank you for reminding us of the edge, reminding us and giving us context for why we feel like things aren't moving or we're spinning in ways that we can't catch ourselves or wobbling in such a
Mhm.
way that it feels very uncomfortable, unfamiliar, um, and confusing to a deeper truth than what we know
Yeah.
at,
Yeah.
at the most
It,
core, at the most core level. Um, so that context and the holding presence in that space is one of the most loving things that we can experience because it brings us back into that place that we can find peace while we're
yeah.
still in the exchange of what's being illuminated and what we're navigating through.
Yeah. We just look for each other.
Mm,
Look for each other.
beautiful. Beautiful, yeah. Ah, what an amazing
Yeah.
conversation. Again, so many people already writing. Living on the edge. Thank you so much. The paradox, all the laughter. What an incredible exchange. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Christina, Tara, Catherine, Mara, all of y'all. Thank you for being on the call. Thank you for being the guides and the mirrors and the love in all of this. Yeah, thank you for your presence, your wisdom,
Thank you.
and for your capacity to share in the way that you do. It's a gift.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. I will see y'all on the next call. Y'all, the replay will be available later. They'll be posted later on our replay page, beyondtheordinaryshow.com/replay. And again, y'all, special offer. The link is in the box below the live video or the replay video. You can always access the special offers on beyondtheordinaryshow.com/marketplace. And it's with that I bid y'all farewell. Good evening. Namaste to each and every one of you. And y'all, blessings to you. Thank you.